the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Monday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I hope everybody had a fantastic Monday and your first full week of 2026 is off to an amazing start. Tonight I want to talk some football, more specifically the NFL. I have not really talked NFL in a while now because of wrestling and, of course, college basketball starting and, of course, all the college football stuff going on. But the NFL just wrapped up the season yesterday. Good evening, Keveron. Glad to have you here as always. So the playoffs will start this weekend. This is one NFL season that, even if you're just a casual fan, you're excited about the playoffs because there really hasn't been a dominant team in the NFL this year. And of course, the Chiefs missed the playoffs and the Ravens missed the playoffs. So a lot of new blood in the playoffs this year, especially on the AFC side with the Chiefs and the Ravens pretty much going every year, and either one of those teams making it. I'm doing fantastic, Marcus. Hope you are as well. Glad to have you here, and it's been a while since I've seen your name in the comment section, so glad to have you back. Marcus, as always, every day is a good day. On the NFC side, for the most part, it's the same teams. There's a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, the same teams. It's just none of the teams look as dominant as they usually do. So, should be an exciting team playoffs overall because, honestly, you could sell me on any team winning the whole thing, and I'd believe it except for the Panthers. The Panthers, I don't think, have a shot. But outside of the Panthers, I could pretty much be sold on any other team that's in the playoffs winning the whole thing. And I hate to hear that, Marcus. Hopefully you're home, and you're home for good. I was wondering where you've been, but we wrapped the season up yesterday. The Bucks beat the Panthers 16-14. And now the Falcons beat the Saints 19-17. So with that happening, you had the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Panthers all finishing 8-9, and the Panthers win the division on a tiebreaker. So the Panthers at 8-9 are your champions of the division, and that's flat out pitiful that they couldn't even finish 500. And I predicted the Falcons to go 10-7 in the NFC South back before the season started. And, the Falcons, I look at the Falcons kind of like I look at the Hurricanes in college football. A lot of people think Mario Cristobal is not a game day coach, and he does make some mistakes, although he seemed to be a lot better at clock management this year than in previous years. But no doubt that he's not a great game day coach, but Miami's talent is so good that it's overridden how dumb he is on game day. That's the way I look at the Falcons. I thought the Falcons had one of the best rosters in football, and I know Raheem Morris was an idiot, but I thought the talent was so good it would override him, and it didn't. And, I wasn't a big fan of Zach Robinson at all because, the Falcons have three great players on offense, and that's Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts did end up leading the team in receiving yards by about 10 yards, but he didn't get to 1,000. But he didn't get near enough receptions. And Bijan Robinson sometimes would go a whole quarter and never see the ball. So how you can be a play caller and not want to give your best players the ball, I'll never understand. Marcus, it should have happened, but I don't think it does any good because the Falcons are incompetent. Raheem Morris was an idiot, and I said from day one he was the wrong guy for the job. But knowing the Falcons, they're going to hire somebody just as dumb as he was. So if you're going to hire somebody just as dumb as he was, you're better off keeping him. I would have kept Arthur Smith before I would have fired Arthur Smith and hired Raheem Morris. I've mentioned this numerous times that Raheem Morris, you watch him on the sidelines, and you never see the man holding a clipboard. He never talks. Most of the time, if there's a huddle, whether it's offense or defense, he never goes to the huddle. He just stands there. So I'm not sure what Raheem Morris does on game day, but you can't tell me you're a good game day coach when you stand there and never say a word, never talk in your headphones, never use your clipboard, never join the huddles. Well, what are you doing? So Raheem Morris is an idiot, but if they're going to hire somebody just as dumb as he was, then it does no good to fire him. But he should have never got the job in the first place. So it's the Falcons' stupidity for giving that man the job. I don't know if they'll let him go, Marcus, because Michael Penix Jr., of course, got hurt. But before Michael Penix Jr. got hurt, he really wasn't playing that well. So, if Michael Penix Jr. doesn't make a lot of progress in the offseason, come the middle of next season, if Penix is still struggling the way he struggled this year, they're going to need a quarterback. And I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback, and there really isn't a lot of great NFL backup quarterbacks anymore. Hey there, Jerry. Glad to have you here. I don't know if the Falcons let him go or not. They can try to trade him, but his contract is so expensive that I don't know if anybody wants to pay that kind of a contract for a guy that really ain't been no good in about 3 years. But if the Falcons are smart, they'll keep him just to make sure that Michael Penix Jr. is healthy, for one, and as good as he's supposed to be, because this year before the injury, he just wasn't that impressive. Not near as what you thought he would be. So we have the Panthers winning that division. I worked with a guy a long time ago that he was from St. Louis, Missouri, and this was back around 2007, 2008, before the Georgia Bulldogs finally won, back-to-back national championships. And he always said that teams in Georgia, whether it's college or pros, are known for always choking in the big game. He said the Braves played in 5 World Series in the 90s. They won 1. The Falcons made the big game. They lost it. The Hawks have never been any good. And he said Georgia has the best roster in college football year after year after year and have the most arrogant, egotistical fans you ever seen. But what do they win? Nothing. And, of course, that finally got, ended when the Braves won another one and, Georgia won those back-to-back titles. But it shows the incompetence of Georgia fans because Georgia has won 2 national championships in the last 45 years, and both of them were with Stetson Bennett at quarterback, but most Georgia fans hate Stetson Bennett. So you finally get a quarterback that leads you to the promised land, not once but twice, and you don't like him. That just shows the incompetence of Georgia Bulldog fans and Georgia fans in general. But the Falcons are another example because the Falcons this year had the best roster in that division by far, and it wasn't close. And, they get eliminated from the playoffs after a 4-9 start, and then after they're eliminated, they win the last 4 games of the season. So that shows the kind of talent they have because in that 4-game winning streak, they beat some good teams. But yet, when they had playoffs on the line and the division on the line, they lost to some crappy teams and played like doo-doo. Then all of a sudden, when the games mean nothing, they're the best team in football. So the Falcons played good the last month of the season, but before that, they were absolutely awful. Hey there, Jerry said thank you. Appreciate that. Jerry, Johnny said you can say what you want, but Dak stats are up there with all the top quarterbacks. Dallas needs to put a supporting team around him. Well, the Cowboys first need to get a defense. Their defense is absolutely atrocious. But Dak Prescott is what I call a stat stuffer. Does he put up good numbers? Absolutely. But most of the time, his great numbers come in meaningless games or they come against awful teams. When he plays in a game that matters, his numbers aren't near as good. But when you put him out there in a game that don't matter, he's great. But they've got to find another receiver, and they need Not a great running back, because this day and time you don't really need a great running back, but they need some decent running backs and a decent run game somehow, some way. But their defense is pitiful, and you can't expect the Cowboys to score 40 points every game. So until they get at least a competent defense, then really truly the offense does not matter. And thank you, Jerry, for the kind words. I appreciate that. Hey there, Dimitri. Glad to have you here, and Johnny and Dimitri and Jerry. I think it's the first time I've seen y'all's names in the comment section. If it is y'all's first time being here, for whatever reason made y'all stop by the channel tonight, thank you very much. The Seahawks beat the 49ers 13-3, and the Texans beat the Colts 38-30. Johnny, I don't know, because I'm not a Cowboys fan. Of course, I don't have an NFL fan. I just watch the NFL for the joy of the game. I don't really have an NFL team, so when I can watch it, I can always watch it from a fan's perspective, because there's really no team that I'm pulling for. But I actually thought Tony Romo was better than what most folks gave him credit for, because for the most part of his career, the Cowboys had some pitiful head coaches, and they didn't have any talent around Romo. Almost his whole career, their offensive line was garbage. They never had a great receiver. They never had a great running back. So I thought they put too much on Tony Romo. Your name is Presley. Your grandma's name is Jerry. Well, for some reason, the name Presley sounds familiar. So maybe you've been here before and I just don't recall. No, the Falcons don't need, if you mean Bill Belichick, no. That man's 90 years old and washed up. They don't need him. They need a young head coach, because for the most part, most of their key skill players are still young. So they need a good young head coach. They just need a good head coach, and that's something the Falcons just cannot find. They've had two good head coaches in their franchise history, and they fired both of them. So the Falcons are allergic to hiring good head coaches, so I don't look for them to hire a good one this time, but maybe they will. Bye, Jerry. Come back and be with us some other time, or Presley, whichever name you prefer to be called. We had the Browns beating the Bengals 20-18. The Vikings beat the Packers 16-3, and I think the Packers end the season on a 4-game losing streak. Looked like they were going to have a really good season, and it turned out to just be an average season there. At the end, the Jaguars all over the Titans 41-7. The Jaguars and the Texans, who I just mentioned, both ended the season as the hottest teams in the NFL. The Jaguars started out 5-4 and finished out winning 8 straight games, and the Texans started out 3-5 and finished out winning 9 straight games to finish 12-5. So the Jaguars win the AFC South by 1 game, because the Jaguars and Texans both finished out the season playing so good. Jaguars 13-4, Texans 12-5. And it looked like for a while the winner of that division was going to be lucky to win 10 games, and turns out the Jaguars win 13 and the Texans win 12. You can definitely see the difference that Liam Cohen's made already in the offense, because, I talked about Trevor Lawrence over the years on this channel numerous times, and he was not the same quarterback he was at Clemson. I never saw any progression. He looked like his freshman year at Clemson was the peak of his career and never got any better, but he's finally improved this year. He's still not an elite quarterback, but he's definitely had his best NFL season so far, so maybe he can improve even more next year. Black Monday. I know I was going to talk about that later on in the week, Marcus. I was trying to let today's video just be talking about the NFL end of regular season, look forward to the playoffs this weekend, but they always call it Black Monday because of all the coaches that always get fired right after the season ends. Happens every single year. And for the most part, most of the time, it's usually coaches that you expect to get fired. But, a lot of years there's that one coach that you just did not think was going to get fired that ends up getting fired, but they always call it Black Monday every single year. And I was going to do a video about that coming up sometime later on In the week, the Giants beat the Cowboys 34-17. The Rams beat the Cardinals 37-20. We had the Raiders over the Chiefs 14-12. The Commanders over the Eagles 24-17. And the Eagles, just won the whole thing last year, but this year they just look absolutely clueless. And all the people that didn't like Nick Sirianni, that had to shut up last year because they won the whole thing, well, they're back out in droves this year because yesterday they even had a chance to get a higher playoff seed. All they had to do was beat the Commanders, who are terrible, and they rest almost all their starters on offense. So Nick Sirianni seems like he's content with going on the road in the playoffs, and the Eagles are nowhere near the same team on the road as they are at home. The Patriots over the Dolphins 38-10. The Lions over the Bears 19-16. The Broncos over the Chargers 19-3. And you can tell that Sean Payton is the Broncos coach, and Sean Payton's got it made now because he coached the Saints for years and had all that success. And for the most part, the success came because of the offense, because their defense in New Orleans most years was terrible. But, he's gone to Denver, and pretty much he's got Bo Nix, who is almost the same quarterback that Drew Brees was, and he's building the offense around Bo Nix and Bo Nix's limitations because just like Drew Brees, he's not a very tall guy. He's not a very big guy and doesn't have a very strong arm. But 8 to 10 yards, he's about as accurate as they come, just like Drew Brees was. So he's pretty much making this Denver Broncos offense the same way he had the New Orleans Saints offense, and they got a whole lot better defense. So the Broncos, they might win a Super Bowl here in the next 3 or 4 years. Wouldn't surprise me at all. The Bills beat the Jets 35-8. And the game of the weekend, which shouldn't surprise anybody, the Steelers beat the Ravens 26-24. Now, late in the game, the Ravens are up 24-20. The Steelers drive down the field and score and go up 26-24, and they miss the extra point. So the Ravens get the ball back with about 55 seconds to go, and all they need is a field goal, and the field goal wouldn't tie the game. The field goal would win the game since the Steelers missed the extra point. The Ravens actually drive down the field, get down there, and miss a 39-yard field goal, and you don't normally see NFL kickers miss field goals inside 40 yards, but he missed it, so the Steelers win the game and the division, and the Ravens miss the playoffs. A lot of people had them either making the big game or winning the big game, and not only did they not do that, they missed the playoffs altogether. They tried, but they got off to a 1-5 start and just never could recover from that 1-5 start. So the playoffs start this weekend. Now, the number one seed in the AFC, Denver Broncos, and the number one seed in the NFC, Seattle Seahawks, both have bye weeks, so they won't play this week. But Saturday, 4:30, the 5 seed Los Angeles Rams take on the 4 seed Carolina Panthers. 8 o'clock is the 7 seed Green Bay Packers and the 2 seed Chicago Bears. So 2 teams that hate each other, division rivals, kick off the playoffs playing each other 8 o'clock Saturday night. Sunday at 1 o'clock, we have the 6 seed Buffalo Bills and the 3 seed Jacksonville Jaguars. 4:30 Sunday is the 6 seed San Francisco 49ers and the 3 seed Philadelphia Eagles. And 8 o'clock Sunday night, 7 seed Los Angeles Chargers and 2 seed New England Patriots. And the first round wraps up next Monday night, 8 o'clock, with the 5 seed Houston Texans and the 4 seed Pittsburgh Steelers. Marcus, if I had to make a prediction, I said earlier in the video that I could see anybody making it, but if I had to make a prediction, I would pick the Rams out of the NFC, and I would pick probably the Patriots out of the AFC. But I could see both those teams going, and I could see neither one of those teams going, but Drake May is playing out of his mind, and Mike Vrabel is doing a fantastic job in New England. So I would pick either New England or Denver out of the AFC, and I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC, but we'll see what happens. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I applied for a job as a beekeeper, but was told I'm too old. That stung. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.